Greetings one and all and welcome to Beyblade Central, so glad to see you here. For today's show, we've finally got our hands on Scorpion Spear. This is a release that has a very interesting gimmick that takes full advantage of the fact it's part of the UX system, but more on that later. While I am very excited for this release, I think that because this release was coming out around the same time that far more popular base came out, this one ended up being forgotten about pretty quickly, especially since it came along at the exact same time that Hell's Reaper came out, and shortly after the CX system came out. So yeah, a pretty rough start for this bay, but nevertheless, we won't judge until we get our hands on it, so let's crack this thing open. Now that we have everything outside of the box, we will first be taking a look at the ratchet, which is 070. 070 is technically a brand new ratchet, but in reality it's simply the 70 height variant of the zero-sided ratchet. Personally, I think Zero only works well for tall ratchets since the points are pointed downwards and can get caught on the extreme line fairly easily, causing it to burst. So realistically speaking, you only want to be using 080 if you're planning to use Zero. Otherwise, don't use any other ratchet because 070 and 060 I don't think would do any good. So it is a bit weird that they included this ratchet on this one, but at least it's not another 360 or 470, so I'll take it. The brand new bit we have is Zap, and I say brand new because technically it is, but in reality it's just like Excel, with it being a wider version of an already glistening bit, in this case being points. I'm not too sure if this will be for the better or for the worse, but I am very interested in testing it out and exploring more options, because at least now we could technically run 2 point bits in our decks, so that's pretty cool to see. Last but not least, we have the Scorpion Spear Blade, and I gotta say, this is a very interesting looking UX blade. It has a 3-bladed design with thick blades, leading them to be really good for its smash attacks. On top of that, it has pretty good weight to it, reaching 39 grams, almost 40. By this alone, it would already make it one of the best blades for X so far, but the gimmick is what I'm kind of on edge about. Its gimmick allows it to go from a 6-bladed or a more rounded design to its more aggressive 3-bladed design. However, the way the gimmick works is why I'm not sure if the gimmick is actually any good. The secondary blade only moves a little bit, and the way it moves is when the blade hits the extreme rail, it's going to move, it's going to shift the internal parts, allowing it to go from the more rounded design to its more aggressive design, but there's no way to revert to the more rounded design, so it's almost going to be permanently in its 3-bladed design, but you can't launch the blade starting off from the 3-bladed design because the launcher hooks would get blocked by the gimmick itself. So it's very weird that they decided to do this. While it is nice to see that TT is experimenting with more gimmicks that take full advantage of the line, I would have preferred if this mode change could have been permanent and done before the battle, since I think having a bay with a defense mode that is permanent and an attack mode that is permanent is far more interesting and honestly more useful than this gimmick that is supposed to be a mid-battle change, but in reality the change is going to be happening almost instantly. And there's no way to go back to its more defensive position. Putting it all together, it looks alright. Definitely would have preferred if it had come with a more aggressive ratchet, since I don't think Zero works for this bay at all, since Zero is typically for stamina or defense type builds, and on top of that, Zero is very bursty, especially when it gets into contact with the extreme rail, and hitting the extreme rail is really important for this bay. So yeah, a bit confusing, I'm not gonna lie, and I understand why they made this into a starter, but if I'm being completely honest, I think it would have worked a lot better as a booster, since, you know, the bit is technically new, but is not entirely new, it is just a wider version of Zap. 070 is not a new ratchet, just a new height for the zero-sided ratchet, which isn't even that good, period, but especially not good for base like this one that wants to hit the extreme rail And the gimmick, again, I would have preferred it if you could change it before the battle starts and it had been a permanent change, because this way, the way they executed it, it's not going to work as intended, since it's always going to be in this 3-bladed mode. So yeah, it is a bit disappointing, but either way, it is still a pretty cool gimmick. I guess the only upside to it being a starter is that it was able to come with the long winder, and that's really what I see a lot of people talking about more than the actual Bey, which is a bit sad, but it is what it is. Hopefully when eventually we do get this release from Hasbro, we get in a booster or a 2-pack, because really if they make this into a starter, it's gonna kind of suck because Hasbro starters don't come with good launchers. But anyways, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to not miss out on any future uploads. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.